Listeners to Love 101 FM are advised that the views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of Love 101 FM.
Hello and welcome to the Morning Watch on Love 101 FM. I'm your host, Toussaint. A special welcome to our listeners on love101.org, and if you're overseas and on the move, U.S. listeners can access us at 712-832-8001. And if you're in the UK, 0330-332-6541. Or join us via the Love 101 FM app that can be downloaded from the Google Play Store or the Apple Store. You can also join us on Love 101 FM Facebook and YouTube Live. In the first watch today, rebranding the teaching profession and other solutions to the teacher migration. And in the second watch, the annual Church's Emancipation Lecture. For our social media question, we ask, you're in control. What would you do about teacher migration? We're asking you to share your responses on our Love 101 FM Facebook page and YouTube channel, and also on WhatsApp 876-997-3125 using the hashtag The Morning Watch. We'll share your responses later on in the program, but before all of that, here's I quote.
All right, here is I quote. This one is from Winnie the Pooh, interestingly. You're braver than you believe, and stronger than you seem, and smarter than you think. This one is from Winnie the Pooh.
Good morning, Jukal.
Good morning, good morning.
Yes, I hope that really is so for all of us.
Yes.
But who is Winnie the Pooh?
He's a cartoon character from, I can't remember the name, but it was Tiger, and, he loves honey. He's in love with honey. I can't remember the name of the cartoon, but there's a tiger and there's a woody for them. Okay. If you know, you know.
Okay. The first watch will be back after this break.
To my amazing son on his wedding day, my heart is full of joy for you. I wish you a lifetime of happiness and a house full of love. Oh, and some kids would be nice. Your mommy will be the kindest, loveliest granny there ever was. Love always, Daddy. I promised him I'd read this to you one day, and here we are.
Thanks, Mommy. Your love lives on with life insurance from Sagicor. Talk to an advisor today.
You made all the preparations but still suffered serious damage from the hurricane. Recovering from any disaster will be hard, but there's help for those who need it most. Look out for the Ministry of Labor and Social Security to visit your home and make damage assessments. Make sure you have a government-issued ID or letter from a JP identifying you. If you suffered damage to your home and have not been visited by our team, please call 876-922-8013. We're leaving no one behind. A message from the Ministry of Labor and Social Security.
With so much to do in one location, make Mega March a one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy, all in one amazing location. My Mega Mart, the best value by far.
Hiya! Don't let the hurricane season catch you without your supply of Lanco roof coatings. Get the Lanco Duraflex, Urethanizer, Siliconizer, or Siliconizer Plus to seal and waterproof the roof. No leaking or moisture problems. Lanco roof coatings reflect the sun rays and reduce the heat inside your house. Use Lanco coatings on your sink, slab, asphalt, wood, and shingle roof. Available at your local hardware store. Lanco, your waterproofing experts.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads.
Its fragrance is so amazing, you have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Now, recently, a call was made by the Reverend Shane Hansel, senior teacher at St. Catherine High School, for the teaching profession to be rebranded as part of efforts to stem the migration of teachers. He further said that schools must also be proactive and assess their environments rather than wait on the government to craft a teacher retention policy. End of quote. Now, teacher migration has been a major problem within the sector for many years. And to date, no viable solution has been found, or have we now come upon it? Well, Reverend Hansel is not with us this morning, but to address this and other related matters, we have joining us so far Mr. Sean Graham, principal of the Magotty High School, and we are hoped to be joined by Mr. Darian Henry, principal of the Montego Bay Community College, in a short while. Good morning to you, Mr. Graham.
Hello, Mr. Sam. How are you doing?
I am well. How are you?
I'm great. Bless I know the feel that I'm good.
Yeah, man. Good to be with you, and thanks for joining us this morning. Of course, we're waiting on Mr. Henry to join us in a short while. In the meantime, Mr. Graham, from your individual perspective, what are the main challenges and concerns facing our teachers today? Why are they migrating?
It's a multiplicity of factors.
Yeah.
We know about the remuneration. There are also challenges with students' behavior, working condition, just the kinds of reluctant learners in the system, and the kinds of homes that children are coming from.
Mm-hmm.
So, for each teacher, the situation, the context is different. I know many persons believe it's just remuneration, but it's far greater than that. And even sometimes, as administrators, we have to look at ourselves in terms of our treatment of colleagues as well.
Mm. And you mentioned working conditions. Could you say more on that?
Well, working condition is the classroom condition in terms of, the classroom is physically. Classrooms are hot, based on the country that we are living in.
Mm.
You have overcrowded classroom space. You have lack of resources to contend with. So just the general working condition and the behavior of students, and sometimes the behavior of other colleagues and parents, safety issues as well. So, those are some things that are a part of the working condition of the educators in this time.
Yes. So you mentioned remuneration. You mentioned behavior of the students, working conditions, and of course the interaction between the teachers. Which one would you think heads the list?
Well, I think remuneration, it is, I don't know, secret that teachers generally are dissatisfied with how they are paid generally, and it is something for the government to look into and to address in a serious way. We know the constraints of the budget and the type of country that we are living in terms of our own economic space and what we can do fiscally. But it is something that government and successive government really have to look into.
Yes. And what are the other practical solutions or best ways you think of addressing these challenges and concerns? Mr. Graham, are you with us? We seem to have lost Mr. Graham. Is Darian Henry on? All right, we'll take a break and we'll be right back.
My mega
With so much to do in one location, make Mega March a one-stop shop. Pick up your groceries and houseware needs, grab a bite and pay some bills, fill your prescriptions and see the beauty products in our pharmacy, all in one amazing location. My Mega Mart, the best value by far.
Ready to experience 6 times more freshness in your clothes? Try Downy Scent Beads. Its fragrance is so amazing, you'll have to sniff it to believe it. Try Downy Scent Beads today. 6 times more freshness versus using detergent alone.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. We apologize for that break. I gather Mr. Graham is back on with us.
Yes, I'm here. Sorry about that.
Yeah, man. So the technology goes.
Yes, man. So go sometimes.
I was asking you about your views on the practical solutions or best ways of addressing those challenges and concerns.
Well, as it relates to the remuneration part of it, we have to have a serious conversation as a country in terms of our education system. I am an evangelist for education, so I firmly believe in education, and I believe that it must be prioritized. I also believe that remuneration of the human resource in education, not just teachers, not limited to teachers, but people that are working in education, has to be addressed in a serious way over time. You know, when you juxtapose Jamaica with countries like Finland and see the priority that they place on education and the outcomes, I think that has to be addressed. Within the schools, we have to take charge of our space and create a positive space where teachers can thrive, where students can strive. Within the resources that we have to create an environment that is positive, an environment that is open, an environment that people can come and be enthused, because sometimes when persons are fulfilling their dreams and have the opportunity to unleash their potential, and they can fly, and the concentration will not just be about remuneration, but a fulfillment of my desire, fulfillment of my passion to know that I am being significant and I'm making a contribution to human flourishing. And that drives the individual. So we have to also look at that. So many things is beyond remuneration. It speaks to the spirit and the heart that a person brings into the job. And so we have to look at rebranding and repositioning the teachers within the system, and teachers have to look at their own personal brand. And there are times when, in the modern time, there are ways that teachers can make money to supplement their income still within education.
But wouldn't persons couldn't persons argue that in recent times the teachers received some increases and some that were substantial?
What we have to do, look on that in a context, and this is a long discussion, because while there was some amount of increase, we have to be teachers would have been a part of JDX, the other one that was before that had teachers working on wage freeze for years, probably cumulatively 8-9 years. We worked with under wage freeze for different agreements for government through IMF programs and so on. So the increase for average teachers would be on 20% for the classroom teacher. The administrators that were better off in terms of some of the packages that came as a result of that. So it is something that has to be looked at and looked at properly. There has been movement, but not everyone is satisfied. That's a general point.
Yes. So it's not greed on the part of the teachers?
No, I don't think so. Teachers have worked hard. Many teachers work hard to move a child from A to B, and some teachers work under adverse conditions in some schools, because you have schools and you have schools. There are some schools, some schools, when you go in there and you see the conditions under which a teacher work, 50, 60 students. There are teachers working in multiple, there are teachers working in areas when the students come there. We have to to focus on their character. There are many teachers that have children coming at age 15, 16, cannot read. So it is a challenge. And if we want to retain the best, we have to also look at our teachers to feel like the personalities that they are. But teachers also have to look within themselves and to understand and we have to flow from spirit and see our job as a duty.
Okay. All right. Well, I gather we are being joined now by Mr. Darian Henry. Welcome, sir. Mr. Henry, with us? All right, still not hearing you. With us now, Mr. Henry?
Good morning.
Yes, morning. How are you?
Not too bad. Are you hearing me clearly?
Yes, hearing you now. Yes, hearing you.
Awesome. Awesome. Good morning.
Yes, right. So we're talking about the rebranding of the teaching profession. But a while ago, we have online as well Mr. Sean Graham. And I was asking him about some of the practical solutions, best ways of addressing the challenges and concerns re the teaching profession. You'd like to join in there?
Well, you invited me, so I'm on.
Please go ahead, man.
Well, thank you for inviting me. Good morning, Mr. Graham. I haven't seen you in a long time. Good morning.
Yeah, we know what Mr. Henry. Blessings.
Yes, long time. I guess we're in a different era. We're at a different frontier now. The question of whether or not this is a new phenomenon, no. Teachers have always been moving from place to place. Teachers have always been seeking better opportunities because it is the noble profession, and it is not something that is endemic to Jamaica. All over in the Caribbean, in North America, all over, the question of teachers moving. I joined in when Mr. Graham spoke about the conditions of service. Some of the most recent studies in relation to teacher retention issues do speak to the whole notion of conditions of service, and our stories here in Jamaica they're well known. The issues of lacking in resources in delivering teaching and learning instructions. I heard Mr. Graham speaking about the quality of our students who are coming into the secondary level, primary and the secondary level. It's a serious concern. And the more the learning challenges is, the more the resources are necessary. We're losing a lot of our special education teachers, which are now more required than ever before. The ministry rolled out its initiative some years ago with relation to the APS coaches. Those are the specialized teachers who can really assist teachers in calibrating teaching and learning instructions to reach and have those students who aren't able to access the curriculum in a normal way to have them access. But we're losing a lot of those teachers. I looked in the Sunday Gleaner of Mr. Graham last week, Sunday, and nearly 2/3 of the schools that are advertising for teachers, they're clamoring for APS coaches. I remember some years ago, when I was principal at Cumberland High School, we had 2 APS coaches and we had 2 literacy specialists. And we gave them the best of the resources available. But guess what? At the end of the school year, they were gone. They were sniped away by our overseas competitors whom we can't really compete with. So I think right now, government policy will really have to take a transformational shift to look at how best can we retain our best teachers here in our country. And, the more we lose our better teachers is the more impact it will have on the system. Sure, there will always be persons who are covering for and replacing those teachers, but the quality of the retention is going to be called into question. And I can tell you, the schools that are able to retain those teachers who are able to do the top-ups and who are able to do additional things, the traditional schools who are well-heeled, who are well-resourced, they're going to be at a distinct advantage over the other schools which are starved of resources, who get the students who are performing below par at lower quintile levels. So there's going to be a widening of the gap, of the mismatch. So I think right now government policy will really have to take a transformational shift to look at how best to retain our teachers. And again, it's not new, but it's happening at a more intense pace. My own brother, I can tell you, he told me last week, listen, I'm going to England. And he's one of the best math teachers in the system. He consistently gets grade 1 passes. And I'm saying to myself, how best can his school retain him? And it is going to increase in its velocity over time, because teachers want a better life. They want a house. They want a car. They want the best of life there is. But how best can our government reshift and refocus government policy to really retain our teachers? So the policy has to shift to know how best can we retain our better teachers in the system.
I think I heard you saying a while ago, Mr. Henry, that in terms of the overseas competitors and competition, we really can't compete with them, right?
Dollar for dollar, no.
Right.
It's impossible.
So with the recent increases in remuneration, what more can the government do? Because I guess the argument is they have tried their best. They have done what was needed in terms of increasing the salaries. How are we going to compete with those people?
Well, there are other metrics to consider, I mean, teachers will argue the increase isn't really an increase dollar for dollar, because it involves the amalgamation of all of the allowances that were there, plus a point-to-point percentage increase and so on. But there are other metrics to involve as well. The country's inflation rate, that in itself has a serious impact on the dollar spend of a teacher. A classic teacher carries home the salary of a teacher, Mr. Graham. A regular graduate trained teacher is just under $3 million per annum, just under $3 million per annum. But when you match that against the cost of living, we can't allow our teachers to be worse off than any other. And if you look at the most developed countries in the world, all over the globe, the better you train your teacher, the better you treat your teachers, is the better it is for your country and for the system. Remember, all other professions, they rely on the teaching profession for it to go forward. So I'm saying, the point I'm making, the thesis that I'm arguing, is that we have to make a transformational shift. Some years ago, the talk came about incentivizing certain subject teachers. There was pushback from other people who argue that there might be imbalances and inequities. Yes, but the time has come for us to take a real look, a serious look on how best can we retain our teachers, right? Now, to say that the teacher salaries were increased, I think it betrays the whole argument about what it is that the teacher actually faces. Now, for example, when a graduate trained teacher goes into the UK system at the very base, they're carrying home £44,000 per annum.
Can't compete with that.
And we can't really and truly compete with that. But there are other dimensions as well. Our declining birth rate, I submit to you, will have implications for us down the road. Because if we continue to have a declining birth rate, and I'm in no way advocating for people to have babies and all of that. I'd be irresponsible to do that. But I'm saying there are developmental imperatives to consider, because the more the birth rate declines, it will have implications for your student population. And once that impacts your student population negatively, that is to say, a decline in the student population, student enrollment, then some schools will see a decline in enrollment, and that will have implications for the closure of schools.
Less need for teachers.
Okay. Yes, and that will also impact the employment of teachers as well.
Hearing you, Mr. Henry.
Yes.
Let me bring him back, Mr. Graham.
Sure.
Yes, that's fine. Mr. Graham, of course, there's much talk about rebranding, and of course, we in the preamble we mentioned the senior teacher from St. Catherine High School who emphasized that. What really does that mean in this context, and what are your thoughts in that regard?
Well, my thoughts in teaching first, I think it's something important within the digital age. There are opportunities that teachers, the system, schools can make use of, and teachers sometimes have to begin to rebrand themselves.
What that means in this context, Mr.
It means that who you are, what's your story, what you bring to the table as a teacher. Mr. Henry mentioned about his brother as a math teacher, and I teacher within the digital age, because the way you position yourself, the way you have branded yourself. So once person see your name, they ask, and this is something that teachers will have to work on. One of the things that I think about is just how many of the books that are written for our CSEC and Caribbean exams are written by Guyanese, Trinidadians, and so on. These are things that teachers have to consider. They
we're not hearing you clearly at all, Mr. Graham. Okay. Mr. Graham, you still there?
Yes, I'm still. I don't know what.
Going in and out. Don't know what's happening there, but continue. Try again. Go ahead.
Are you hearing me better?
Yes, a little better. Continue, please.
Yes, I was just saying the teachers have to reposition themselves as it relates to branding and what they have to offer. Who they are and what's their story. There are things that we can do in the digital age. Blog, vlog, YouTube videos, TikTok channels, and to become a global teacher, not just to limit ourselves to where we are physically.
Yes, and writing books.
Yes, writing books, very important as well.
Yes.
And so, just the whole rebranding of the profession, who are what the teacher is, what's our story, what do we bring to the table, how can we help, and how can we allow people to experience the excellence and to drive human flourishing, not just in Jamaica, but across the globe.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, we're winding down our discussion. What do you say to the teachers and prospective teachers out there in light of the current situations that they are facing? Mr. Henry, you first, and then Mr. Graham.
Well, I'm not the Minister of Education, so I
not asking you in that context at all. Just as a
not at all.
Just as a veteran in the teaching profession.
Every individual will have to make the best decision that they have. It's a personal decision. I was hearing that the discussion earlier was about the branding of the teaching profession. There's a lot happening at the parliamentary level with the proposed Teaching Council bill, which will augur for a mechanism for the licensing of teachers. In my own dissertation, which I'm just completing, one of the arguments I'm making is that we need to look at a mechanism for licensing of principals as well to boost the profile of the profession. We have a lot to say about how people view and perceive the profession, how we conduct ourselves and all of that. But in light of all that is happening, the best will always stay with us in the classroom, because we know how much we value our contribution to national development, because all that we do, the GDP of the country, the gross domestic product, we contribute significantly to that. We're not measuring it enough for us to understand our own value and worth. So my argument to teachers now, that as we go into a new school year, everybody makes their own personal decision. But I mark you, don't wait until the last day of August to tell your principal that you're not coming back. Yes, be professional. If you're permanently employed in the system, give the board 3 months notice. If you're temporarily employed, you give a month's notice. Be professional. Those are some of the, and Mr. Graham would agree with me, those are some of the small things that will add up and help, because the teaching profession is ours. We have to own it. We have to build it. We have to build a profile around it, because it is what we have. Jamaica has some of the best teachers in the world. The US is clamoring for our teachers, and it's because of the mere quality that we produce.
Thank you, sir. Hearing it loud and clear. Yeah, man, we cut that sermon. We cut that sermon.
More strategic focus on the teachers' colleges, Sam Sharp, the Micahs, the Shortwoods. We have to focus on really rebranding and getting the best people into the profession.
Thank you, Mr. Henry.
Transformational ways of retaining them.
Let me give Mr. Graham the final word. Couple of seconds. So Graham,
I would just say to teacher, understand your value, understand that you're in a remarkable profession, and that we can think global. Regardless of the remuneration, we can think global. We can supplement our income if we are creative, if we are positive, and if we understand our value and to understand our civic responsibility that we have a duty to change Jamaica. And if Jamaica is going to change and get better, it is heavily dependent on the teaching profession and you as an individual teacher.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining us this morning and for enlightening us on this important subject matter. Have a safe day and a productive day.
All right, blessings, Mr. Henry. Thank you so much for accommodating us, Reverend Toussaint.
And we will talk. All
Pleasure.
the best, my brother.
Listeners, the Morning Watch will return in just a moment.
Anything possible with a little savings in your hand.
The time by Gem Bank is
7:30.
To my little bird on her graduation day, my pride is swelling thinking about the future that lies ahead for you. Go see the world. Follow that passion for music you have. Find someone as amazing as your daddy. And never forget, my love for you has no end. Love always, Mommy. 5 years ago, I promised her I'd read this to you today.
Thanks, Daddy.
Your love lives on with life insurance from Sagicor. Talk to an advisor today.
It's a holiday and we have nothing to do.
We gonna have a good time.
With family and friends at Nestle Claim Fun Fest Family Festival. August 1st at Hope Garden. Bounce, spin, ride, play in the fantastic fun zone. And cool down in our water park. But wait, there's more. Mascot parade, games arcade, fantastic train ride, bingo, and mouth-watering food village. Adults 1,200, children 3 years and over 800, and toddlers free. Fun Fest Family Festival. Thursday, August 1st, Emancipation Day at Hope Garden. Gates open at 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Come out early. Clim 1 Plus growing up is not a breast milk substitute. It is a milk product suited for babies older than 12 months. Breastfeeding should continue for as long as possible.
Follow Grace Sardine, follow the flavor. Grace Sardine with the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper, that's the winner. Shop on supermarket, everybody sell it. You all of them nice. Pass the part, me push it.
Grace Sardines, follow the better flavor.
Jamaica, this is the national danger-free crew. Come join the fight, stop mosquito from biting. That mean we are go clean up school workplace. Woman community too. Have a task at plan. Every crevice corner for clean up the plan. We could get rid of dengue across the island. Let's put it on the Facebook and Instagram. Tell the world nation fair. This is the national danger-free crew. Come join the fight, stop mosquito from biting. Mosquitoes wanted dead, not alive. A message from the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
Affirm Ambulance Services, Jamaica's premier provider of emergency medical transportation. We do medical standby for both private and corporate events, non-medical emergency services, emergency transportation to and from medical facilities, hospitals, and homes, wheelchair provision, nursing homes, and first aid, plus so much more. We are located at 17 Cleardale Avenue, Kingston 10, and we can be contacted at telephone numbers 876-281-1262 or 876-299-2053. Follow us on Instagram at affirm_ambulance. Affirm Ambulance Services, a firm choice in health transportation.
Attack with double up your savings. These are the books that get in a waiting. To take the water dreams you've been chasing. Double up your savings. Double up.
Save so you can win in the Gem Bank Double of Your Savings promotion. You could be one of 5 lucky quarterly winners to walk away with double the money you put in your savings account. Conditions apply.
Double up your savings.
Check our website and social media for details. Gem Bank will help you find a way. Authorized under Section 58(3) of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Act.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now look at newspapers to see what Jamaicans and others are saying and doing. In the Gleaner, group of 2,000 migrants advance through southern Mexico in hopes of reaching the U.S. Also in the Gleaner, taxi horror. Woman who jumped from cab during police chase recalls fearing for her life. In the Observer, the Prime Minister vows to take back Spanish Town from criminals, and Paulwell, pleased that JPS heeded his advice to offer discounts to customers and to review estimated billing process. In Loop News, 400,000 grant for families whose houses were destroyed by burial. And also in Loop News, Vaz has little confidence in JPS post-burial and turns to USAID for help. Those are some of the major stories in our newspapers. Coming up next, we'll read some of the feedback from our social media question. You are in control. What would you do about teacher migration? We're asking you to leave a comment on our Facebook page and the YouTube channel. Love 101 FM Jamaica, or WhatsApp 876-997-3125. Soon come back.
Tiles. It can go everywhere, from your walls to your floors, from inside to outside. Your style, your choice. At Active Home Center, we have the widest selection of tiles, from classic to unique. Shop our new arrival of tiles for your bathrooms, living rooms, kitchen, and more. Let us help you transform your space. Visit us in Kingston at 84 Constant Spring Road, or our newly opened location in Freeport, Montego Bay. Active Home Center, more savings, more choices.
I am Megan Tapper, Olympic 100-meter hurdles bronze medalist. At 5'1", I've always been asked, how you manage to clear the hurdles so easily? Truth is, I've been overcoming hurdles all my life. How? Preparation. So I always prepare for every hurdle in life. And that's why I drink True Shake. With True Shake, I get 9 grams of protein and 24 essential vitamins. I may be short, but with True Shake, I am not short of anything.
Come on, True Shake and go!
Jamaica and its workforce are advancing quickly. Life-changing opportunities are arising. You need training and support. We are the Renewed Heart NSTA Trust, committed to providing new and emerging skills training and opportunities. Come to Heart. We'll help you claim your place in the workforce of the future.
Together we're all people standing strong, 2 million Jamaicans. Let's work as one. Such a course at work with a plan. Proud and tall, let's make the whole world understand. Every Jamaican have the heart of a champion. Such a core big up for champions. Watch my style, watch my skill, watch my flow. Standing out anywhere where we go. Many goals, many dreams, many strides. On the black, green and gold, now we pride. Proud and tall, let's make the whole world understand. We are strong when we are one, Sagicor, celebrating Jamaican success.
You're invited to listen to Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. We'll give you tips on how to make your money count, how to save, and how to grow your wealth. It's all inside Dollars and Cents, brought to you by BPM Financial Limited, taking you higher. That's Dollars and Cents every Thursday at 8:16 a.m. on the family station, Love 101.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness is now accepting applications for the Dr. Barry Wint Memorial Scholarship. Jamaican citizens pursuing a first degree, master's, or PhD in any health-related field, including medical social work, human resources for health, nursing, dentistry, health economics, or any other, can qualify for up to $1 million per year for 5 years to complete their studies. Visit www.moh.gov.jm/scholarship for more details and to submit your application. Deadline date is Wednesday, July 31, 2024. We look forward to seeing your application.
Welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint. Let's now join Jokal for a look at how our Facebook, YouTube, and WhatsApp friends answered today's question. You're in control. What would you do about teacher migration? Jokal?
All right, so I do have responses on our WhatsApp line, especially today, blowing up our line. The first one is from Cherry in Spanish Town. Good morning. Teachers need more teaching tools and proper work areas, but overall, whatever we do, there will always be migration because of our dollar and inflation, among a lot of other issues. Dan Bell says teachers migration, no problem. The show must go on, or students continue to do well. This next one is from what is this? Olga Cummings, right? Says the Prime Minister and the Financial Minister mean these teachers no good. I agree with the teachers. Go to greener pastures as soon as possible, as long as they don't owe the country any money. And that's what we have here so far.
All right. Interesting comments there from those who responded. I want to thank them all. As we now segue into the second watch, Pursuing Climate Justice, the Caribbean's Story. Well, that's the theme of this year's annual Church's Emancipation Lecture. Maybe you are thinking that's an odd theme for such an event. But the fact is, it's an often overlooked aspect of the legacies of slavery. So let's find out some more. And so to talk about this and other related matters, we have online the Reverend Dr. Dave Hazel. Is he online? Yes. And he's a lecturer and representative of the United Theological College of the West Indies on the Emancipation Lecture Committee, and also Mr. Markel Virgo, Head of Communication for the Emancipation Lecture Committee. Good morning to you both.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me. Good morning to you and to all of your listeners.
Okay, thank you. I'll begin with you, Mr. Virgo. Why and when did these emancipation lectures come into existence?
Excellent question. So the Church's Emancipation Lecture came into being in 1994 as an ecumenical and collaborative effort. The brainchilds behind this ministry were Reverend Dr. Burchell Taylor, who I'm sure you know well, Reverend Toussaint,
yes,
and Reverend J. Oliver Daly. At the time, well, as you would be well aware, Reverend Toussaint, Reverend Taylor was the pastor at Bethel Baptist.
Yes.
And Reverend J. Oliver Daly, the senior minister at Webster Memorial United Church in Halfway Tree.
Mm-hmm.
And so this ecumenical venture was really a brainchild of theirs, and it has continued thankfully ever since. Can I say though, Reverend Toussaint, that the church right after emancipation, as you and many of your listeners would be aware, the church was the center of community in terms of leading its people into freedom, or establishing themselves in free villages and organizing them after emancipation in 1838. And I see the Church's Emancipation Lecture as being part of the church's role several years later in this post-emancipation period, not just to celebrate our freedom, but I've heard it said to also celebrate with an R, to think about what it is that our freedom means to us.
Hearing you loud and clear. Thank you, Mr. Virgo. Reverend Hazel?
Yes, sir.
Yes. How have these lectures evolved over the years, and what has been the visible impact, if any, on the lives of individuals, would you say?
Well, I think one of the most significant things has been the way in which it has sort of evolved from just those 2 or 3 churches at the start to a wider base of churches. So now we have Meadowbrook, now we have Hope United Church, who are part of the collaborative effort. And so the impact in terms of the different churches that are involved, and therefore the persons who are likely to be a part of or attend a lecture or invite persons to attend the discussion, that has broadened. I think what has also been significant as a mark of its impact has been the wide variety of topics that the lecturers covered from time to time. Last year, for example, we were looking at the issue of human trafficking.
Yes.
And so one of the things that the lecturers tended to do is to broaden our sense of the impact of the legacy of slavery, so that we recognize that there are a number of aspects of our life and our situation in our Caribbean reality that are legacies, that are leftovers.
Tell you what,
because of that experience of slavery and colonialism.
Yeah, tell you what, Rev, we're up on a break. Hold that thought. We'll be right back.
Sure.
Starting with the chef and the beginner. Follow the one with pepper. That are the winner. Shop on supermarkets. Everybody
Great sardines. Follow the better flavor.
The time is
7:45.
Okay, welcome back to the Morning Watch. Thanks for staying with us. I'm your host, Dylan Toussaint, and this is the second watch. We're looking on the annual Church's Emancipation Lecture. And in so doing, we have online the Reverend Dr. Dave Hazel, representative for UTC on the Emancipation Lecture Committee, as well as Mr. Marco Virgo, who is an attorney at law and head of the communication team for the Church's Emancipation Lecture Committee. Reverend Dr. Hazel, before the break, you were telling us about the impact over the years.
Right. And I was mentioning the fact that, you know, the number of churches that are involved in this collaborative effort has broadened, you know. So we now have a Bethel, we have a Meadowbrook United Church, Boulevard Baptist, Hope United, Webster Memorial,
UTC,
and of course the United Theological College.
Yes, great. Mr. Virgo, can you walk us through the process involved in planning and having these lectures?
It is quite an intricate and interesting process, Reverend Toussaint. So you mentioned the Church's Emancipation Lecture Committee, which is the planning committee responsible. And as Reverend Hazel indicated, there are 5 churches and UTC that are the partner churches or partner institutions, if you will. So the Church's Emancipation Lecture Committee comprises representatives from all 5 churches as well as UTC. And we have a very interesting system in that the chairmanship of the committee rotates on an annual basis, so that the chairman of the lecture committee comes from the church that is hosting the lecture committee in that year.
Okay.
So this year, the lecture being hosted by Hope United Church, the chairman of the lecture committee is Mrs. Margaret Jobson, who is a member of Hope United Church. So the planning is very intricate. We start from as early as February, March, where we sit down. The first thing that we do is just to identify a topic. You know, we throw some topics around. We have a discussion, depending on, you know, what is trending, or what it is that, you know, what it is that we feel that people want to hear about in terms of legacies of slavery. You know, we throw some topics around, and then on settling a topic, we then move to find a speaker. Sometimes it can be difficult because, you know, when you want a good speaker, someone who is a master or an expert in the particular field, you know, we throw topics around and we throw speakers around, and then depending on the availability of the speaker to attend the lecture, then that is how we then settle on a topic. And once we settle on a topic, we then get to the other aspects, such as, you know, planning the order of service, the liturgy, the magazine, the sponsorship, the PR, as what we're doing as what is part of my duty with you today, etc.
Yes. Okay. Sounds interesting. Reverend Hazel, working with other churches and church organizations, denominations, can sometimes be a challenge, even though there are Christians working. What are some of the challenges you experienced and faced over those years?
Well, I think part of the issue is often the different resource availability that is present with the different congregations. In other words, some congregations are much more resourced than others, both in terms of personnel and in terms of the facilities. And so there's always a challenge to try to shore up those churches and congregations that are not as resourced. And I think that it has worked out well in for this particular venture. But you can imagine that sometimes, you know, the concern about keeping the standard of the lectures, keeping the interest and that sort of a thing is always a challenge. You know, the other thing, of course, is ensuring that there is some level of continuity, because each year there might be some members of the committee that are changed by their different congregations, and so the content. But there's always some amount of presence of those who have been there in the years before. So again, we have found a way to balance the continuity with the introduction of new and fresh ideas and fresh talent. And one of the very positive things about the committee is that you have quite a number of young adults who participate in Mr. Virgo being one of those that bring a freshness. So those of us who are older heads can be proud about, you know, the involvement of some of the younger ones and to see the quality that they bring to the organization of these events.
If I may just jump in for a moment, Reverend Toussaint,
Yes, sir.
even give a light testimony as to how I became involved in the lecture committee. In 2019, when Hope United Church last hosted the lecture, I was actually the liturgist for the service at Hope United Church. This was 5 years ago, in 2019. I was fresh out of law school. I had not too long just started working, and I had really just settled into Kingston for a few months, that is work life. And then it just came back full circle. As a matter of fact, can I say to you, Reverend Toussaint, and perhaps even Reverend Hazel too, that this lecture, the first lecture was held in 1994.
Right.
And the year of my birth, 1994. So it just goes to show you, you know, that this lecture is really coming full circle. It has developed a body, a personality of its own, and that there is a clear transition to younger adults that Reverend Hazel has indicated earlier.
Thanks for the testimony. Still with you, Mr. Virgo. What else can you tell us?
To Reverend Toussaint, that one of the challenges has often been the funding and to mobilize the congregations to contribute on time.
Well, I was wondering when that was going to come to the fore, the discussion. But anyway, Mr. Virgo, what else can you tell us about this year's Emancipation Lecture? Who is the main presenter, the venue? Let's Hope, right? Hope United. The date and the time.
So this year's lecture is being hosted by Hope United Church, which just happens to be my church. It's being held by Hope United Church, or hosted by Hope United Church. The lecture is scheduled for Sunday, July 28th. That's this coming Sunday. And the service begins at 4 p.m. 4 p.m. at Hope United Church. Our speaker this year, and we're very privileged this year to have as our lecturer, Dr. Kevon Riney. He is a Jamaican, but he did lecture at UEMONA for some time. And he is now, hold on for me, Rev. I want to make sure I get his title right. So he is a Jamaican academic. He taught at UEMONA for a few years. Right, so Dr. Riney is the associate professor at Rutgers University, and he's also a visiting professor at Princeton University in the United States. And the theme of the lecture is Pursuing Climate Justice, the Caribbean's Story.
I should say to that he has done quite a lot of work on the impact of climate and the Caribbean region. So not just in Jamaica, but across the region, looking at some of the ways in which disaster impacts our nation, and some of the kinds of things that we need to be aware of as we prepare for the future. In given the reality of global warming and climate change, which is continues to be considered by some to be something that is not a thing, is not a real thing, but which all the evidence, scientifically and otherwise, is pointing to. And so the question is, what are some of the ways in which smaller nations like ourselves are impacted by the global reality? How is this in some way a marker of the impact of colonialism and so on, and therefore something that we need to look at as a globe to see how there is fairness and justice for those nations who are most vulnerable to the impact of climate change.
Especially small island developing states such as Jamaica.
Yeah. And the justice part of it, gentlemen, how that comes in, or how do you believe that this will become more evident as the lecture continues?
Well, one of the issues, of course, is the matter of what is contributing to global warming, which is the main contributor to climate change, and the fact that many of the larger countries, because of their carbon emission and carbon footprint, are large contributors to the impact of global warming. And it is the smaller countries, the island states and so on, who stand to be affected the most by the climate changes, which we are experiencing, for example, in the changes in the kind of storms that we're seeing. We've never seen such an early Category 5 hurricane in this region, and it is clear that there is a connection between that kind of a storm and the global warming. And so the issue of justice is about the responsibility that these larger states have for managing their carbon footprint, but also positioning themselves in readiness to be able to support and to help the most vulnerable states when the impact of climate change become a reality, and they are having to deal with the after effects of a storm like a Beryl.
Yeah. Interesting stuff. Mr. Virgo, is the lectures are open to all and sundry?
All and sundry, and we say without a shadow of a doubt, all are welcome to attend the lecture, and we look forward to hosting all at Hope United Church this coming Sunday at 4 p.m. It's a time of thinking, deep consideration, and of course, the lecture itself is actually encapsulated within a very, what we hope will be an awe-inspiring and vibesy worship experience that we hope that you will enjoy. So please, we invite you and we encourage you, come out and share with us.
No registration, pre-registration process, just turn up.
Just turn up,
right? No registration, no attendance fee or nothing like that. One of the things about the impact that I should have mentioned at this earlier on is I feel that this lecture series has been one of the main contributors to the government's review of the observance of Emancipation Day, and I think this preceded the reintroduction of the observance of Emancipation Day by the government. So I think we have contributed to stirring that concern and that consideration and that commemoration, which is now a national event.
All right. Well, commendation, gentlemen, to both of you and to the churches involved, and we look forward to an inspiring, insightful lecture come Sunday at 4 o'clock. You said. at the...
I will have a seat reserved especially for you.
Okay. Thank you very much, man. All right. Bless you, gentlemen. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you
so much. All right. All pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Blessings.
Yeah, man. Thank you, listeners, for being with us. Join us again tomorrow as we continue to set the stage for a discussion of topical and controversial issues. For information how to get copies of this program, call our production department at 876-968-9596-7. This has been the Morning Watch. Thanks to our producer, Kathy Gale, and our guests. I'm Dylan Toussaint, giving a shout out to the pastors and members of the New Foundation Christian Ministries and the Webster Memorial United Church, as I hand you back to Love in the Morning with Jakal Dyer.
July is Healthcare Workers Appreciation Month. The Ministry of Health and Wellness salutes all healthcare workers for your commitment, service, and sacrifice. The time by the Ministry of Health and Wellness is 8 a.m. and you are now invited to listen to Forward in Faith